Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's first video. So we're doing the October month ahead forecast for today's first video. We'll have a review on how September's forecast went. We'll do the October month ahead forecast, and at the end of the video have a quick sneak peek at November. Later on today we'll have a look at the weather next week to 10 days and see what's happening there. So before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse through widgets and click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you'll be helping us to pay for the website. Thanks so much for doing that. Also, the video ads most of the pages which own that content. When you watch it, may close back up again, it does help to pay for gasweathers.com. So we'll start off with September. Now, the September month ahead forecast from Gasweathers indicated the chance of a warm and dry month, particularly so for England and Wales, less so for Scotland, or less dry for Scotland and Northern Ireland. We predicted that the first half of the month could be very warm, and then maybe offset a little bit by a cooler, more unsettled second half, but still coming out significantly more on average. We went for about a degree above average. So this is how the CET ended up, Central England temperature. It was exceptionally warm September. It's one of the warmest on record, not the warmest on record, but certainly within the top 5 warmest Septembers on record. CET came out at 16.0, an anomaly of 2.4 degrees above average. So it was significantly warmer than forecast from Gasweathers, but we did go for a warmer than average September. It's also fairly dry, especially across eastern parts of the country, more unsettled, wetter in the northwest. So overall, I think the Gasweathers forecast was fairly reasonable for September. Quite happy with the broad trend. It just turned out to be more extreme than we anticipated. And as I always say, with these long-range forecasts, it's very difficult to pick up on the extremes. Really, when you're doing long-range forecasting, be it sort of 30-day or 90-day seasonal forecasts, you can talk about the general trends, the broad direction of traffic in terms of the drivers and the broad weather systems. But when you get down to the exact detail, like how warm or how cold it's going to be, that is much more difficult to forecast on a long-range basis. So I think overall we got the broad trend correct. It was very warm in the first half, really hot first half. Was a little bit cooler, but still significantly warmer than average in the second half. A little bit more unsettled as well in the second half, but still pretty dry. Just the anomalies were more extreme than forecast. But I think overall it went okay, the September, so I'm fairly happy with that one. Let's have a look at October then, and this is the 700 millibar height anomaly forecast from CFS V2 for October 2016. Remember, with these height anomalies, the brighter colours, the yellows, oranges, reds, are extrapolating to above average heights, which is high pressure, and blue colours are extrapolating to below average heights, which is low pressure. So this is how the anomaly is looking with CFS V2 for October. It's placing below average heights to the north and west around Greenland, Iceland, above average heights to the south and also to the east, which means that the jet stream is doing something a bit like that. On the face of it, that would be a fairly dryish month, and probably not as warm as we've had it, but still maybe a little bit milder than average. I'm not sure about that anomaly, though, because already we know that, I'll be talking about this in the week to 10 day video that's coming up later on, but already we know we can have a lot more high pressure than this is indicating over Scandinavia during the coming week, which is going to have an effect of bringing in easterly winds. And those winds actually look quite chilly for the first week to 10 days of October. In fact, if I go back to the central temperature for the first day of October and refresh it for the second day, we can see that we are running a little bit cooler than average, with an anomaly of 1.6 degrees below average for the first 2 days. Very, very early in the month. But I suspect when we get through to around 10 days in, we may still be running a little bit cooler than average, actually. So I'm not sure about that height anomaly. I think there should be, it should be more ridging up towards Scandinavia in particular than that is indicating. Now, the model is going for slightly above average temperatures this October, not the big anomaly that we've had in September. So I don't think we're looking at a very hot month such as we've had in September with an anomaly of 2 degrees above average. I don't think it'll be anything like that. It's close to average, but still a bit on the positive side. Precipitation, well, that makes sense really in terms of what the model is doing. Bit wetter than average for Scotland and Northern Ireland, drier than average for England and Wales. So essentially, CFS wants to continue the pattern that we've had in September, but have it less extreme, if you like, in terms of the temperature and precipitation anomalies. Let's have a look at the Beijing Climate Centre. So we'll have a look at, first of all, at the anomaly for the month. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly for October from the Beijing Climate Centre, and it's placing a ridge to the south and west and a trough up to the north and east, which does something like that with the flow and the jet stream. If we break this down into 10-day periods, though, this is how the first 10 days of October are looking. Quite a big trough out to the northwest, a ridge down to the southwest. And again, I think this is a little bit wrong, really. There should be a higher pressure than this is indicating up over Scandinavia. As we go through to the second 10-day period, we're going from the 11th to 20th, the heights are building out to the west of the country with the jet stream and the flow going something a bit like that. Looks more out to the north of the country and fairly coolish air probably coming down from the northwest. And then the final 10 days of October shaping up like this, which places an increasing ridge out to west. So we've got Atlantic ridging out to the west and the flow is coming around the top of that in that sort of direction. It's also a trough over Scandinavia. So you would have thought that with ridging out to the west and a trough to the east and northeast, that's probably a fairly coolish signal for the month. Actually, the temperature anomaly from Beijing Climate Centre is still coming out warmer than average. And precipitation, that looks wetter than average in the north and west and drier than average in the south. Now, it's a very, very complicated month, this October. I'm not sure the models have really got the patterns correct. Certainly not for the first sort of week to 10 days, which we know from the shorter range models are going to have a lot of high pressure influences over Scandinavia. So I'm not sure they're quite right. I think with the precipitation, it is looking like another fairly dryish month. I don't think we're going to have a very wet month, particularly down in the south for England and Wales. I don't expect precipitation to come out drier than average again. For Scotland, probably close to average. But I'm not anticipating a very wet month. It's the temperatures that are quite problematical here. The models are generally trending towards average to above average, albeit not as hot as we've had in September. I would bring that down much closer to average, actually. And I wouldn't totally rule out the possibility of a cooler than average month. Their models aren't signaling that at all. But based on where we're starting off in the first 10 days of October, which I think will be fairly cool, I wouldn't rule out a cooler than average October. So I reckon temperature anomalies are going to come out around average, maybe a little bit cooler than average. It's a gamble. It might not pay off, especially after a very hot September such as we've had. But I'm going to go and gamble and say a slightly cooler than average October is possible. So average to cooler than average temperatures. In terms of precipitation, I think drier than average for England and Wales, probably closer to average for Scotland and Northern Ireland. We'll see how it goes. It's a very, very complicated month, this. It's hard to make much sense of what models are doing. So we'll just come back in November and see how it went. And talking of November, here is the 700 millibar height anomaly from a CFS-V2 for November. This one is placing above average heights to the northwest, so around Iceland and to northwest of Scotland, which will bring the flow around the UK like that. So that looks like another fairly dryish month, but that could be quite a cool month. By November, if you're starting to get high pressure around Iceland in November, you really could be talking about quite a coldish month there coming along. So it may well be that we're going to have quite an interesting autumn this year with a really hot September, followed by something about average October, and then maybe cold in November. But of course, that's a long way off. It's very speculative. And when we get to this time next month, we'll do November month-end forecast. That anomaly could look very different for November. So we'll worry about that when we get to it. Finally, thegasweatherviz.com October forecast is for average to maybe slightly cooler than average temperatures, and for the precipitation, generally a bit on the drier side, always more unsettled in the north and the west. We'll see how it goes. Come back later on for the look ahead for the next week to 10 days. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.